Hey guys, welcome back for episode 2 of All the Mods 9. I have some big plans for this episode, but first let me catch you up on what I did in between episodes. First off, I did a little bit of mining, so we have a couple of diamonds racked up, and I set up all of those ores to process, so these machines are still working through that. But the biggest thing I found while mining was this Easter basket. It was in a chest at a mob spawner, and I was expecting just to get like chocolate bunny, which we actually did get, or if we look in here, we got some eggs, some things of that nature. But we also got a nether star, which is really awesome. We're going to be able to use this for something in the near future. Past that, I worked on getting a mystical agriculture farm upgraded. So all of our soil is now at the superium tier, which gives us 250% output or 3 essence per harvest. And I realized in between episodes, you can actually use vein miner or FTB ultimine, however you want to look at it, to harvest all of it at one time. So that's really nice. But my big goal for this episode is to actually get some sort of automatic resource generation. So we're first going to need to grab a little bit of obsidian, build up a little nether portal, and start digging down so we can hunt for some netherite and get some netherite tools. Now that we have a little bit of ancient debris, we can process this through our enrichment chamber. And after a very long process, it's going to give us double our output. So instead of 6 netherite scrap, we'll have 12, and we can craft that down into 3 netherite ingots. But in order to upgrade our pickaxe to netherite, we're also going to need a netherite template. And you know we get those from a bastion in the nether, but those can be a little difficult to get to. And so I think what we're going to do first is we're going to make ourselves a wooden jetpack. So in order to get the wooden jetpack, we're going to need to make some basic coils, and then we can craft those into wooden energy cells. We will also need some more basic coils, a furnace, and a little bit more wood to make a couple of wooden thrusters, as well as a wood capacitor, a leather strap, and we put it all together to get our wood jetpack. And we should be able to throw this thing directly in our wind generator to charge it up. And we'll use this in place of our chest plate. I need to set up the keybind real quick, which is actually going to be this toggle engine under iron jetpacks. And I like to use G for this. So now if we press G, we should be able to toggle the engine on and fly around a little bit. Now this does burn through quite a bit of power. So to help out with that, we're going to make a flux capacitor. First, we'll need to make a redstone reception coil, and then with a little bit of lead and redstone, we can make the flux capacitor. And we'll also charge this up in our wind generator. This one actually is going to take a good little while though, because as opposed to our jetpack, which only holds 20k, this thing holds 500k. So that should keep us flying for a good little while. Then after about 15 minutes, when this thing does finally charge up, we can hold it in our hand, shift right click, then throw it into our charm slot in our curios menu. And now our jetpack is going to charge itself while we're flying around. Although it looks like we do have to be a little careful because we can burn power a little faster than we can charge it. But that's alright. Let's go ahead and set out to see if we can find ourselves a bastion. Is that one right there? Kind of looks like it is. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure this is what we're looking for, but we need to find our way inside. Oh yeah. And we got to find a chest in here somewhere. Ooh, there's a chest. Do you got what I need? You do not. There's a sword with mending. We may be able to remove that later, so I guess I'll take it. Some nether bananas, a spirit orb, golden carrots, and some iron nuggets. Ooh, a flawless gem. Too bad I'm not a big magic person, but I'll take it anyway. Ooh, there's another chest down there. Do you got what I need? Ham, saddle. Nope, not what I need. Alright, if we get rid of this dude, there's another chest behind it. Okay, thought I got hit in the back for a second there. Alright. This one. Nothing. Reaper 5, Fortune 2, Flame Pendant, some diamond boots. I'll take that. Alright, I think this might be the last chest. Oh, we do get one. Alright, you gotta die. Thank you. Alright, magma cream, same kind of axe. Chip gem of the combatant, unique. I'll take that. A little bit of gilded blackstone and stuff. Alright. We should now be able to slash home and head back to the base. Alright, let's go get a little sleep in. And when morning rolls around, we can make ourselves another smithing template just so we have an extra one for later. As well as a smithing table, which we might as well just go and upgrade to the stick version. Pretty sure that's a quest. Sure is. And then I found this in a chest as well, so we might as well upgrade the experienced diamond pickaxe over to an experienced netherite pickaxe. And now it's time to set out and find our first bit of allthemodium. Now it is worth noting that allthemodium can only be found in the deep dark dimension, or not dimension, biome. And while we could just, set out and search for a deep dark biome, we can craft a nature's compass fairly easily. And if we open this menu up, we can just type in deep dark, and it's going to tell us where the nearest one is. Alright, I've kind of closed in on the location. So once again, we're going to make use of our FTB ultimine. I'm going to set it to small tunnel, and then we're just going to drop down, making sure to use our jetpack to keep from taking too much fall damage. Oh, we're in. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, dangerous biome as always. Make sure I turn my jetpack off so I'm not flying through here. I would really like to break this Skulk Shrieker. I think this is the only one nearby. Okay, we're a little bit more free to kind of explore this area. Now I think what's going to be the best way to find anything here is we're going to set back to shapeless and mine up all of the Skulk blocks with our ultimine. And hopefully somewhere here we'll uncover a little bit of allthemodium. Oh yes, here we go. Alright, we have one block, which we can mine up with our netherite pickaxe. And then we should be able to, we can use a hammer later on and get that into 2 dust just for the sake of it. Then we'll want to break that down into nuggets, I believe, because we need 4 nuggets to make a teleport pad, and that will take us to the mining dimension. Oh nice, and look at this. So just down from where we found all the allthemodium down here, there was another spawner. And in the chest I found another Easter basket. So if we place this down and break it. Oh man, I guess I just got really lucky the first time because we did not get a nether star that time around. But past that, I wasn't able to find any more allthemodium. So let's go ahead and take the one that we have and turn it into 2 dust by making an ore hammer. And then we can smelt it up in our blast furnace, craft it down into some nuggets, and then use an ender pearl to make it into a teleport pad, which we can really place anywhere. So I'm just going to shove it right here for now. And I believe if we shift right click, we teleport to the mining dimension. Although we did spawn underground. But underground might be all there is to this dimension. I don't know. These mining dimensions change differently from every pack. Not necessarily all the mods pack, but just every mod pack has some kind of mining dimension or something along those lines. So I'm gonna have to kind of figure out what we got here. There's some diamonds. Well, I can definitely tell you that the ore generation's a lot better here. And I can also tell you there is a surface. Now, this mining dimension does spawn with all of the Greg Tech ore veins and everything, so that's going to be really nice for getting us into Greg Tech. But we don't want to mine all of that by hand. So let's fall back down in our hole. And I think I'm going to dig out just a little small room so we're not spawning in a 1 block wide gap every time we go through the portal. Which don't think we really even need to be on the surface. We just need to be able to get over here and set up our quarry once we get one. which is actually going to be right now. So first we need to make a machine base like we did in the last episode. These are used for pretty much all RFtools machines. And then we need a few allthemodium nuggets, an ender pearl, and some blocks of redstone to make a RFtools Builder. Now this builder by itself won't do much of anything. In order to make it work, we're actually going to need a shape card. And in our scenario, we're going to use a fortune quarry. So there's a few more things that we need to grab in order to make these, because this is going to go through a chain. So we still need to get a gas tier. We also need to get, actually we already have everything for the quarry itself. And then we're going to need some bricks and some paper. The bricks I actually just snagged off the top of that building over there. For the paper, we're actually going to need to grow some sugar cane, and I'm going to show you something really cool we can do with this. So if you take 2 sand and craft it together, you get some snad. You just saw me do that. Then we can plant some sugar cane on this, and we're going to need to open up one side of this block. And basically the way this snad works is when you apply a redstone signal to it, it's going to make it grow a lot faster. So what we're going to make is a redstone timer. So we're going to need a clock, we're going to need a few redstone torches, and we're going to need a machine base. Then we can craft all of that into a timer, and we're going to place this facing towards the snad. Now right now it's not doing much of anything because it's on a 20 tick delay. But if we set this on a 1 tick delay, okay, maybe not. Okay, we set it on a 2 tick delay. And now you can see the sugarcane is just growing and growing. It's not quite as fast as it used to be, but it's still very fast. And that just leaves a gas tier, which this guy conveniently dropped for us. And now we should be able to craft our shape card. Then we're going to need a couple of tools, a diamond pickaxe, as well as a diamond shovel. Let me just toss those sticks out real quick. And we can upgrade our shape card to the shape card quarry. This is going to allow the builder to mine things. And then finally, I need a few dimensional shards out of my chest. We can upgrade it to the shape card fortune quarry, which is going to fortune everything that it mines. Oh, nice. It actually used some of the durability was used on the pickaxe that it used instead of the brand new one that I made. I'll take that all day. All right, so now we have our fortune quarry card and we have our builder. There's one more thing that we're going to need to get this fully up and operational. Well, I guess 2 things. Firstly, we're going to need a bit more power. So I'm going to craft up, I think 7 more wind generators, making for a total of 8. And at this point, we're going to want to tower all the way up to what? I think Y256 is max build height, so we're gonna have a ways to go. Nope, in this pack it's Y320. So we're gonna need to break down a couple blocks. Let's see, does 317 work? No. Alright, 315. 315 works. And at 315 it's going to generate 82.99 RF/FE per tick, which isn't a crazy amount, but it's what we got to work with right now. And we're just going to expand out a little platform up here to get all of these placed down on, along with another set of universal cables. Now, the reason I have this kind of pushed over here a little bit, if you hit F3 and G on your keyboard, you can see me toggling it. This shows your chunk borders. And what we're going to want to do is open up our claim manager. And we're going to want to claim the chunk that we're currently standing in. Now what this is basically going to allow us to do is have this chunk always loaded. So we can claim it, and then if you shift left click it, you can force load it. So this chunk will always be loaded and always be generating power. Now there's a couple other things actually that we need to add up here. The first thing is going to be a way to store some power. And we're actually just going to use a basic energy cube for mechanism for this. This thing can store 1.6 million Fe. So we'll make another steel casing and then a couple more energy tablets and then craft all of that into an energy cube. Now, the next thing we're going to want to make is a way to get the power down. obviously we don't want to run 300 plus cables all the way up. So we're going to need to get some wireless energy transfer. And the best option we have for that right now is Flux Networks. So if we place a piece of obsidian down just above a piece of bedrock and throw some redstone dust in there, then left click, we will get some flux dust, which did complete a quest for us. On top of that, we're also going to need to head back to the Nether, make our way to a Nether fortress, which has some chests. I think we might come back and loot these though. My inventory is pretty full, and my backpack is also relatively full. What we're really looking for is some blazes. There you are. Alright. There's one blaze rod down. Oh, 2 blaze rods down. And I thought you could craft that into more blaze rods, but maybe not. Yeah, you can. You just need 2 of them. Alright. Well, I'm going to farm a few blaze rods. We don't need too many. So that we can make some blaze powder and eyes of ender. And we're going to need to combine all of this stuff up along with some obsidian to get our flux cores. We can also make some flux blocks. We're going to need a couple of those. And we can make a flux plug. This is going to be the entry point of RF into our network. And we'll need 2 flux points, which are going to be the exit point of RF through our network. Now, this should be pretty much everything we need. So let me make my way back up this ladder. And we can set our flux plug up anywhere connected to this line. And this is where we create a network. For right now, or I guess just in general, I'm going to name this network input. Doesn't matter what color or anything. It doesn't matter if it's private. This is a single player world anyway. Then we're going to select that. You'll see it changes color to match that. And I don't always select bypass limit, but you don't really have to with this because these aren't generating enough power to pass the transfer limit anyway. So now we have an input set up for our network. And if we drop back down, we can set up our energy cube on the end of this line. And this works very similar to the machines in the sense that you have inputs on certain sides and outputs on certain sides. We need an output going to the cables, and we're going to have our input from the top, and that's where our point's going to go. Now, when we connect this up to our input, that will start putting power in here wirelessly from all the way up there. And right now we are getting an input of 1.53 thousand. That is going to fall off dramatically once the buffers on those burn out, but that should at least get this most of the way full. And it'll also keep these machines always charged, so I don't actually need this here anymore. I set that up once I moved those up there because I needed to use this metallurgic infuser a little bit. But we're just going to let this charge up. And one other thing that I want to do is I want to set the priority to 1. And the reason for this is the priority is going to be 1 here. And now we're going to go pop back into the mining dimension. And this is when we're going to set up our builder. So we'll have the builder here. I'm going to put the point on the inside of it and select the network. And we're going to have the priority set to 0. Basically, all that means is it's going to prioritize sending our, and actually let me check the chunk borders real quick. Okay, yeah, we're within a chunk border. That's important just so you're making sure you only load 1 chunk. But back to the priorities. It's going to prioritize sending to the machines over there in the overworld before it sends over here. Because the thing is, we're not going to have enough power to run this consistently. So what we're really trying to do is just run it whenever we're not using our power for something else. And in the next episode, we'll probably get some upgraded power production and we will be able to run this thing. But for right now, the wind generators just aren't very much. Now, the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to set up the dimensions. So if you come in here and you just type 9999 for everything, that is going to give you your max dimensions. And then we're going to want to offset this. And basically what I don't want to happen is I don't want it to mine within this area. So we're going to set an offset. And we're going to want that offset to be in the west direction. So we're going to want to set this offset in the west direction. So you have your X, Y, Z. West is going to be on your X axis. You can see my X moving up and down. And when I walk forward, the X is going down, so further into the negatives. So what I want to set my offset is really negative 512. And that's basically going to center at 512 blocks that way. So none of this stuff is included in what it's going to mine. It's only going to be 512 blocks that way will be the center, and it'll mine 512 area around it. So we can go ahead and install that back in there. Then we can give it a chest on top, and it's also going to need some form of redstone signal. So I'm going to put this lever on the right side, and when I hit this, it should start mining, and you'll see this chest is filling up with cobblestone. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make a filter, which is really simple. We just need a hopper, piece of paper, and a couple redstone and an iron, and we can make a filter module. All right, so once we have this crafted, you can shift right click to open it, just like we did with the shape card. And then you can add various different things. So say I wanted to add cobbled deep slate, I could do that. And we don't really need to do that because you can also come in here and add tags. So we're going to add a tag for forge : ores, just like this right here. And it's only showing a few different ores here, but this should cover pretty much every ore in the pack. Yep, there you go. When you shift on it, you can see all the different ores added there. And now if we throw this inside, we do need to make sure it's on whitelist. Okay, it's on whitelist now. So if we throw this inside and hit our lever again, it's going to start searching, and it's only going to mine up ores. So none of this cobblestone and stuff will get mined anymore. And you can see it's kind of slow. And based on the mining level of the material it's grabbing, it's going to cost more RF. But just for the little bit of RF that we've been feeding into here, we're already getting a ton of different stuff. Look, we already got ancient debris, diamonds, coal, iron, prosperity, everything we could want. Draconium. I mean, the list goes on and on. And this isn't going to be a permanent setup, but it is going to get us started really well and allow us to get into some better power generation and better ore generation. So let's go ahead and make sure that we claim and force load this chunk. That way, if we leave this chunk, this will still be loaded and continue running. And honestly, I need to just go ahead and empty this thing out because we're going to make one more upgrade to this chest. Or I guess probably a couple upgrades to this chest. So first off, we're going to craft it into the sophisticated storage chest like we did in the last episode. Then we'll upgrade it to iron, then to gold, then to diamond, and finally to netherite. Now, I believe this is the highest tier. You can see it's a very large chest now. And we do have a few upgrade slots in here. And I did get this upgrade base as a reward from one of the quests. So we can go ahead and use that. It's got a pretty simple recipe, just some iron and some planks. And we'll craft that into a stack upgrade tier 1. And then we're going to craft it into a stack upgrade tier 1 plus. We can't really go any higher with this right now. We don't have the iron for it. But when we put this in here, that will say, if I grab some of this, will allow it to stack over the normal stack limit. And this goes all the way up to a stack upgrade omega tier, which raises the stack limit to the integer limit of the game. But this will do just fine for now. So let's go ahead and take this back to the mining dimension. Then we can smack this guy back on top of here, put the upgrade back in it, and pretty much just let it run and fill up with all the ores it can come up with. And pretty much for right now, I'm just going to be manually filling in all of these ores into our ore processing setup. We need a lot of iron right now, which will also allow me to increase the stack upgrades, and at some point I can make upgrades for these machines. So these machines can take speed and energy upgrades. Energy is going to decrease the amount of power it uses. The speed is going to increase the speed of the machine. There's also the option of making factories. For example, this enrichment chamber right here can be upgraded with a couple of basic control circuits, some iron and some redstone, into a basic enriching factory. And what that does is it will allow you to process 3 items at one time instead of just 1 item. And you can take this up to advanced, which will allow you to process 5, then elite, which will do 7, and then ultimate, which will do 9. Now these are some really awesome upgrades, but they do get kind of expensive. So in between, I will probably take it maybe, in between episodes, I'll probably take it to maybe basic or advanced and give it some speed and energy upgrades. Just so when we do need to process ores, we can do it a little bit quicker. And past that, that's really all I got time for today. Super happy with getting all of our ores kind of semi-automated. We are getting them without having to mine for them, and that's the important part. I thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to drop down and leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.